Hey guys, welcome to the stream. This is Arriagada coming to you live from Roseau River, Anishinabe First Nation. We're here at the NIICHI Gaming Center and we're here for a community meeting regarding cows and plows claims update. It also says up there on their screen specific claims update, so it's one or the other. They're going to be discussing treaty annuities, treaty land expansion, agricultural treaty benefits, capital and revenue accounts mismanagement. And well, they're just getting things kind of going. They're not quite ready to go, but I decided to start the stream a little bit earlier so we can get some people in here to watch the stream. Today is Tuesday, November the 12th, and well, let's get this going. Just waiting for them to get their meeting started. Oh, I need to. Okay.
We only have a microphone that you can come and speak in, just because we have it on live online for our tribal members who live in the US and Canada and Manitoba and Winnipeg that can't make it here today. So it's live streamed today and tomorrow in Winnipeg. Start. Is Ed Hayden here? Edward Hayden. Would you say a prayer? Opening prayer by Mr. Edward Hayden.
Okay, I know how to say prayer. That's it. Hôm xưa mình quên những món ăn kia mà đầy đủ. Ông không có mà mua bình. Ông có music na, bây giờ xin tạm biệt. You speak a Ken Zeke who day. We chi go she mà đầy đủ. Anh đi cái gì có quay day. Ông có quên sit tạm in. Anh đi ngoài nó không biết gì hết nó không. It is me what trying my way she mà đầy đủ. Yeah, give me any way zinc. When it's with no pending on it, get the way to then coming up, they will get away to that's on gun. That's on gun. The way that the shit you got there, no, the way me cook, it doesn't know Jimmy up. It doesn't know Jimmy up, but I know this yoga. You spend the words to say. They go get no, he's called the 7 o'clock. So you just put them all away. I need to get on there and see him. It doesn't know Jimmy on it. Me here to make it an animal. We done a COVID jigger in New York. Me here. We know my guy cut their shit and make no room. Me here can you to say. You show them to wait a minute in the book. How him and they do there. When they got me war, John got me sick. Me the church me got train and one on them. Mama moving. Met 2 minutes. You watch.
So I just wanted to let you all know too. Hi, Ryan. Just wanted to let you all know as well. You can go to rrafn.com and you could read all the information, the presentation, all the documents of filing and all that and so forth. The update of Cows and Ploughs by lawyers in Ploughs. You can look at it online on rrafn.com. It says there's a tab that says Cows and Ploughs update. So all the documents that are needed can be read on there, and you could even download them. So I just wanted to let you know, and also the focus group section that we had. Remember, June, you wanted that information? June? Yeah, I have that on the website as well. Also, we have the questionnaires here for you that you guys asked at that focus group. We have them all typed out here, just over here. I have it for you. So I just wanted to thank you all for coming out. And we also have our chief that wants to say a few words before we start the meeting. Round of applause for Chief Gary Roberts.
So Jimmy Rich. Good afternoon to everyone. I came out to listen to the information that's going to be provided to you here this afternoon. So we invite everybody to ask questions. That's why we're here. That's why we're presenting. That's why the information is being presented. Let's be respectful. I really appreciate the words that were by one of our elders here. So really appreciate that. So be respectful in terms of answering your questions that you may have, the answers will try to be provided to the questions that are brought forward. No, I think we're scheduled here for at least a couple hours anyway, so the information will be provided to you. Take in the information, try to understand what's being presented. We may not get to all the questions. Ask questions that you do have. So with that, I think at this time I want to hand it over to one of our council members, Terry Nelson. Say a few words. Yes.
Gotta finish doing here. Anyway, thank you very much for being here. Stephen Philippou is probably one of the best lawyers in land claims. He's done over 40 land claims. He's come all the way from Saskatoon to come and present on an update Ploughs and Ploughs and a number of other claims that Roseau has. Very important because a lot of people get to hear about all the settlements that some other First Nations are making. One of them just recently is $205 million. That one was on Cows and Ploughs, I believe. I believe that one was Derek Nipinac and Valley River. But they moved ahead. There are 633 First Nations in Canada. And the federal government doesn't get to all of the claims. Treaty number 1 was signed, one of the first treaty settlements. It was 1871. 1871, that's 153 years ago. Of course, the government has not fulfilled the treaty. It didn't move forward. And so when the federal government does decide that they want to do something, of the 633 First Nations in Canada, they go to the people that actually, First Nations that's willing to settle down and sit down and negotiate. And definitely, nobody gets everything that they want. The federal government doesn't have the money to settle all the treaty issues. But the Roseau River people saying, well, what are you guys doing? What's the Chief and Council doing? Well, we have one of the best lawyers in the country, Stephen Philippou, Adam Tuet. Stephen has settled basically about over 40 land claims. Done a lot of work. And the ones that we did bring in, Stone Holmes and Associates, the research people, they're one of the biggest research people around. They do a hell of a lot of work. And Stone Holmes and Associates came here and interviewed a lot of the elders. They interviewed people. They wanted to know where our claims were. And some of the questions that came up from the people, that's taken a little bit of time to answer some of those questions. But this guy here, Stephen, is here, flew in from Saskatoon this morning, crashed down here. But he's been through this a lot of times, lots and lots of different communities. And so none of the things that Roseau people are going to be asking him are new to him. Lots of things that he's had the same issues being asked in other communities. Like I said, he settled over 40 claims. So it's nothing new for him to be answering your questions. some of them he may not answer directly today, but I really have a lot of confidence in Stephen Ploughs because he's gone through this process. He's been able to negotiate something. We have to present something to the federal government. If we don't, then what the federal government does is that they go to other First Nations that are willing to move ahead and negotiate. People in the community of Roseau River are asking us, well, what the hell are you guys doing? That's what they're asking the chief and council. So this is something that we want to be able to bring in front of the people. And maybe some of it that you may not like, some of the answers that we have or some of the things that we're saying, but got to work on something. Like I said, it's 153 years later, 1871 treaty. We got to move ahead. I'll ask Stephen. This guy has done a lot of work, and you can't scalp him. He doesn't have any more hair left.
There, yes, no more hair. Did when I started working as a lawyer 35 years ago, and it's all gone. Thanks, Mr. Hayden, for the prayer, and thanks for inviting me out to the community to meet with you guys and go through this. It's an update meeting. We'll talk about what I'm working on with the First Nation and where things are at. Of course, you can ask any questions you want. My presentation isn't long, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. And I know you guys had a workshop not that long ago, and some of your questions were emailed to me, and so I'm aware of some of the things that that you're going to be asking, and that's fine. There's no bad question. I'm happy to answer any question. As Terry has said, I've gone through this many times before. This is not new to me. Even with you guys, I was the lawyer that helped you with your 1903 surrender settlement. So I've been here before in this room in the same situations, talking to you guys, maybe not exactly everybody, but so I'm familiar with Roseau and with your history. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the PowerPoint, and I'm hoping it's coming through online. Yeah, okay, good. So we're going to go through this. I'm going to have to just move around over to the computer here. So myself and another lawyer by the name of Adam Tuay are working together with you guys. Adam's a little bit younger guy. He does have hair. And he's the guy that he's actually was supposed to be here today, not me. And he's supposed to be doing the work, and I'm supposed to be helping him in the background, but I'm happy to be here nonetheless. One of these buttons will be. So I'm going to go through just an overview of the claims that Adam and I are working on for you guys. There's the agricultural benefits claim, a little closer, okay. There's the agricultural benefits claim, or lots of people call it cows and plows. Then there's the capital and revenue account mismanagement claim. Then there's the treaty annuities claim. And finally, a treaty land expansion claim, which I'm kind of excited about. I think that's a really good claim. It's a unique claim, and one that I think that could generate some good results for you guys. So I'm going to go through each one of those. I'm going to start with the agricultural treaty benefits claim. So this claim relates to the Crown's failure to fulfill the treaty agricultural benefits owed to the First Nation under the terms of Treaty 1. And as I said, commonly referred to as a cows and plows claim. So when the Treaty 1 First Nations entered into Treaty 1, there were certain things that were promised to the First Nations by the government. Agricultural implements, tools, buggies, farm animals and livestock, seed wheat, potatoes, garden seed. Those are just a few of the things. And we know from history that many of those things were never provided. Some may have been provided, but many were never provided. And so you didn't really get the benefit that you should have gotten under the terms of treaty. One of the main points of treaty was to turn you guys into farmers. And it never happened. And the reason it never happened to a large extent was because you were never provided with the benefits that you should have been provided with, that you were promised. They just never came. So as Terry has indicated, we did retain Joan Holmes and Associates to do some research on the Treaty 1 benefits. They did prepare a report. We went through, a few drafts, and then we came to a final report. And what they did is summarize the relevant historical facts. What was Treaty 1 about? What was negotiated? They went into the records to try to figure out what was provided, if anything, in terms of those benefits. And then we took that research, Adam and I, and we prepared a claim submission under the specific claims policy. And that was basically claiming that the federal government, the Crown, failed to provide the benefits that they were obligated to provide. That claim submission was given to the Chief and Counsel. It was reviewed with them, and they approved it, and we then filed it with the specific claims branch. So it's been in there at the specific claims branch for a little over a year. It was filed on or sent to them on October 6th. Under the specific claims policy, Canada has, once they receive a claim submission, they have 6 months to review it to determine whether it meets their minimum standards. They have certain standards that you have to meet in order for them to accept the claim and then file a claim and then look at the claim. And the claim met the minimum standards. I've done this many times before. I know what's required, and we made sure we met those minimum standards. The claim was actually accepted and filed on March 3rd of this year. So now, under the policy, the government has 3 years to advise Roseau whether it's prepared to accept the claim for negotiation or not. So March 4th, 2027 is when they have till to let you know whether they're prepared to accept that claim for negotiation or not. So it's still some time. We're not even a year into it. So we'll move forward with that. As Terry said, there's lots of treaty benefits claims that are going on in Canada right now. Just a little bit of a history on them. It goes back to Treaty 8. Treaty 8 was the first to bring these kinds of claims forward, and the government accepted them and then negotiated settlements with all the Treaty 8 First Nations. They're now moving into Treaty 6 and Treaty 4 areas and a little bit into Treaty 5. There's not been one Treaty 1 First Nation that has settled its agricultural benefits claim. You likely will be the first if we get to that point. I know one of the question was, well, how much money? I said, I don't know. I can't even speculate right now for you, okay? There's been no settlement in your area on cows and plows. And so time will tell what that'll mean. I know you've heard other areas, like Terry mentioned, Valley River, 205 million. I know there's one in Saskatchewan, Larange, it was in the 600 million range. So to sit here and speculate what Roseau River would be entitled to or what we could negotiate, I can't tell you. Okay? And I'm not even prepared to speculate. But these claims do generate a fair amount of money. We know that. I know in the Treaty 6 and Treaty 4 area, the government, and as we're told, they're applying it in Treaty 5 as well. They are applying a formula. 2 First Nations had pursued their claim through the specific claims policy. The Sunchild First Nation in Alberta in Treaty 6, and the Kiniston First Nation in Saskatchewan in Treaty 4. They had submitted a claim just like you. They did the research. They submitted a claim to the minister. The minister rejected the claims. They were at the Specific Claims Tribunal, and they and Canada agreed to do our mediation. And so they went to mediation to try to come up with a solution without having to go through the whole Specific Claims Tribunal process. They came to a resolution. There was a mediation report. I haven't seen it. I'm hoping to see it fairly soon, but I have not seen it yet. But as I understand it, under that mediation report, the mediator made a recommendation on a formula that could be applied to determine a compensation amount. As I understand the formula, they take 1/3 of your data first survey population. In your case, it would be, what was your population in 1871? Take 1/3 of that population. And then you take 2/3 of your current population, whatever it is at the time that we would, that these bands are negotiating. And then you multiply that, whatever you get, those 2 numbers by a factor. And the factor that they used was an amount that was determined by an agrologist in terms of what all of those benefits you were entitled to. In this case, Treaty 4 and Treaty 6, because they were similar. They determined what the current value of those benefits were. The cows, the plows, whatever it is, whatever those agriculture benefits, they put a number on it. The number that the report came up with was $58,000, a little bit more than that. But it's dated. It was 2016. The report was prepared. We're now 8 years beyond that. So that's what other areas are doing right now. Okay, they're not. We don't know whether they're going to apply that same kind of an approach in Treaty 1 or not, but that's something that is being done, and that's something that may come to you guys as we move forward. So that's the cows and plows, sitting and waiting for the government to go through their process and to give the First Nation an answer whether it's prepared to accept the claim for negotiation or not. The second one is a trust account mismanagement claim. There's been one claim like this settled in Canada, and that was me. I started this a while ago with the Kakawistahau First Nation. I went to the chief and council and I said, I think you have a claim regarding money that Canada has been holding for you, and I think they will find out that they have misspent it. And they said, okay, Stephen, we'll give you the money. You go ahead, you do what you need to do. And I did. And eventually, I was able to settle a claim for them. Every First Nation in Canada has a similar type of claim. It's just to the extent that they have it. So I talked with your chief and council. I said, I think you guys will have a similar type of claim, and I think you should pursue it. So they agreed to do that. We hired Joan Holmes and Associates again to do some research. But the gist of the claim is that Canada has held money for you going back to the 1880s. Under the Indian Act, they set up two accounts for every First Nation, a capital account and a revenue, or it used to be called an interest account. You know that, okay? Money went into these accounts. So in your case, when your land was taken from the reserve in 1903 and it was sold, money came in from those land sales. It went into these accounts. Now, under the Indian Act, under the various Indian Acts, we're talking a very long time period. We're going back into the 1800s and moving forward to the present. There's a number of Indian Acts involved, but under the terms of those Indian Acts, they had provisions that said this money could be spent on this or that. It also said that in order to spend this money, we needed to have this authority or that authority. And the authorities were either the minister, superintendent going back, or the minister today, or the governor and council approval, or the band council approval. In some cases, it actually was band member approval. And what we found when we went through this process is that Canada was actually spending money freely. They didn't come back to the First Nations and ask, can we spend this money on this or that? They were spending it on things that were not allowed under the Indian Act. They were never going back to the government for orders and council. Sometimes they would come back to the band council and get approval. Sometimes they didn't. So what we did was we had Joan Holmes and Associates go right back to the beginning. They tracked every dollar that went into these accounts. They tracked every dollar, every cent that was spent out of these accounts to see whether, what they were spent on and whether these were things that were allowed under the Indian Act or had the proper authority for each of these expenditures. They classified them as allowable, non-allowable. Those aren't legal terms. That's just research terms that they came up with. So anything that they classified as not allowable, we are claiming. And we're saying that was inappropriately spent, and we want compensation for that. Okay. So right now we have the research completed. Adam actually is working on the first draft of the claim submission. And it should be done fairly soon. He estimates before the end of this year, so in the next month or so. We'll come back to the chief and council. Go through it with them. As long as they approve it, then we will submit that claim into the Government of Canada to be processed under the specific claims policy. Again, the process is the same. Once we get it into the system, Canada has 6 months to determine whether it meets the minimum standards. And once they do that and they deem the claim to be filed, then they have 3 years to give you a response. Okay? It'll be a good claim. I don't know how much, but this is a good claim. The next one is the treaty annuities. This is the $5. You've been reading in the paper or saw online or on TV about what happened in Ontario with the Robertson Huron claim. They took Ontario and Canada to court, saying that that $5 should have been increasing over the years. And they won. And the courts agreed with them. And they have entered into the First Nations in that area have entered into a very large settlement, $10 billion. What's happening now, First Nations are in other areas, treaty areas, are going to Canada and saying, well, that $5 should have been increasing. And I'm told Canada is going to settle these claims. I think it's just a matter of time. How that $5 is going to increase, I don't know. Whether it's going to be based on some inflationary factor, CPI, or what, I'm not sure, but it's going to increase each year, and there'll be a settlement. The point of this research was to determine a couple of things. One was, what was the population every year that should have been paid that $5 or whatever that $5 should have been? So the First Nation retained Joan Holmes and Associates. They went back to 1871 and they determined how many people should have been paid that $5 from 1871 all the way to they went up to 1987 so far, because they haven't been able to get some pay lists from the Manitoba regional office, but it'll continue right to the present, and then it'll go forward like that. I think I wouldn't doubt if now that $5 today will be $400 or $500 instead of $5. It's going to increase. These claims are not going to be insignificant. They're going to be fairly large claims. Right now, I know you're in the court process. One of your band members has brought a class action suit against Canada, Treaty 1, and that, as far as I know, is going on. We're not going to duplicate that. All we're going to do is we're going to take this information that we have, and we're going to feed it to the lawyers that are working on this class action suit, and they will use that in the court proceedings and any settlement discussions with Canada. Okay. Now, you as a First Nation, you want to continue with that process, you can do that. You want to get out of that process and you want to pursue your own claim, you can do that. That's up to you. But right now, that process is going on and nobody's intending on not following that process. This is just to help them. The other thing that we found, though, is that a whole bunch of annuity payments were just missed, never made. And a lot of them over the years. So they went back, Joan Holmes and Associates went back right to 1871, and they said, and then they did it every year after that. How many annuity payments were missed? And it was a lot. That's a separate claim. And if Roseau wants, we can prepare a claim submission and we can put that into the system and come up with a settlement. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be a huge amount, but it's still a settlement. We just got the draft report from Jones Holmes and Associates at the end of October, and over the weekend I was reviewing it, and it's about $23,000 and some dollars they found that hadn't been paid. So that's a lot of $5, Okay. So that's another type of claim that's being worked on. Again, once we get the final report from Joan Holmes and Associates, we will then prepare a claim submission if the Roseau wants on those missed payments. We'll take the final report, we'll send it off to the lawyers working on the class action suit, and those two claims will go on for you, okay? The last one is the treaty land expansion claim, and I really like this claim. um, this is kind of a unique kind of claim for Treaty 1, because I think you're the only ones that were promised this of all the treaties when the discussions were going on. But when the discussions were going on with Canada, one of the chiefs stood up and says, you know, you're promising us 160 acres per family of 5, 32 acres per individual. What happens when our population grows and that land is no longer sufficient to support our population? Says, well, we're going to give you more land. They didn't say it quite like that. You know, they said, we'll provide you with land further west. You know, we'll sell your land and give you other land. The point is, they promised that you would get more land if your population grew. And that's what this claim is about. It's not a treaty land entitlement. We're not talking about the 160 acres per family of 5. We're talking a continual, ongoing right that you would have to more land as your population grows over time. And I think it's a good claim. I think Canada's going to have a hard time getting out of that claim. And I think Treaty 1 is really the only one, maybe Treaty 2, but Treaty 1 for sure is the only one that I've seen that has that kind of language in it and that kind of promise that was made. So it's kind of a unique claim for you guys. And I kind of like that claim. So I think that's going to be a big one, and it's not going to be minimal. It's not going to be an insignificant amount of money. It's going to be could be a really significant claim. You know, because your population is now what, almost 3,000. You know, you take your current population, times it by 32 acres, subtract what you were given. It's a lot of land, you know, and there's a lot of value there. So that research is going on right now. Just, you know, Joan Holmes and Associates are doing the research. They provided us with a draft report in the summer. Adam and I reviewed it. We provide some comments back. They weren't quite done it yet. They were scheduled to have it done this November 1st. It's not done yet. All this research is taking longer than we had originally anticipated. And to a large extent, that was because of COVID. You know, the government offices just shut down for a period of time. And the researchers weren't able to access lots of the records for a period of time. And now the government is slowly catching up to all these requests that were going in. But it won't be that long before we get the final report, and then we can prepare a claim submission, and it can be submitted to the council for their consideration. And if they approve it, we can get it into the system and get it moving through the system. So that's what that one's about. And that's about it for my presentation on what Adam and I are working with Roseau River on. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them for you.
So all questions, please come to the front because we need to hear your question for the online people who are watching.
My question is, World War II veterans were promised, I believe, 160 acres. Could you give an update of if any First Nations applied for a claim?
I'm only aware of one, and it's not really, I don't think it's what you're getting at, but there's a First Nation in Saskatchewan, missed OASIS. They had a lot of veterans that went to World War II. And when they came back, what the government did, and they did the same thing with you guys, they had a policy in place. Well, not a policy, it was actually a law, a Soldier Settlement Act in place that said every returning soldier was entitled to land, 160 acres. They didn't apply that the same way to Indians that they did to non-Indians. They told the Indians, you can get land on your reserve. We're not giving you land off your reserve. So in some cases, you know, and there was other benefits that went along with that, not just the land. There was also some cash benefits that were to be provided to the veterans. But in order to do that, in order for these Indian veterans to access those funds, they had to have a land base. Well, the government wasn't going to give them a land base. So they went back to their communities and said, will you give us some land, reserve land, our own land you already owned. And in some cases, in Mr. Wass's case, they did that. And they have a bunch of certificates of possession on their reserve that these veterans were provided so that they could access this funding. Now, Mr. OASIS has filed a claim with Canada, but it's not about these veterans not getting their 160 acres, what you were talking about. It's the fact that they took their own land and gave it to them. And now it's been really alienated from the rest of the community because these veterans and then now their families have exclusive rights to these lands through that certificate of possession process. So it's a little bit different, okay? I'm not aware of any other claim like you're talking about, okay?
I'm probably not going to answer the question that you're talking about, the veterans claim, but just giving you some information. I'm aware of Steve Seaney. He was a veteran. They were promised 160 acres per veteran, but they gave him some land in the reserve here. One of the things, there's 9 World War II veterans from Roseau River. That's 160 acres times 9, 1,440 acres that was owed to the veterans. One of the things that I want to make sure people are aware of, and want to make sure that people have some idea on this, no settlement, like what Stephen is talking about. If we do ever get to the settlement, these settlements are going to have to come to the people, have to be voted on by the people. Nothing is going to happen with just keeping council. And I want to make sure that people understand that it's being recorded. It will not happen unless the people vote on it. That's random. The other thing that is very important to understand is that Treaty number 1 said 160 acres per family of 5. Very, very important for people to understand that. 160 acres per family of 5. So when I ask people in the community, I said, where's your land? I don't know. With the chief and council, they don't realize that the treaty does say 160 acres per family of 5. You're supposed to have your own land. Problem is, what Canada has done is that they've used formulas and they've used their policies, and we end up using the Indian Act. And under the Indian Act, all our reservation lands is based with the chief and council, not with the individual. You should have land as families, as individuals. He's saying 32 acres per person. So as long as we follow the Indian Act, benefits from the lands don't flow to the people. That's what I've had real problems with that. Because, things don't get developed, things don't benefit people. And in the end, end up waiting for the chief and council to get something done. Well, I'm very clear. Get out of the Indian Act. into the treaty. The treaty says 160 acres per family of 5. Time to get people land. That you have benefits to that. So that's what I'm saying to you. Not going to happen overnight. You have one of the best lawyers in the country on treaties. Like you said, he had over 40 claims. It takes a lot of work, a lot of research to be able to move a claim forward. Just letting you know that. Good.
We got a list of questions.
Oh, yeah. Where we dissected your presentation. We dissected your presentation. The elders advisory had a meeting this morning regarding what they're talking about today. Some of the things I'm gonna say are kind of hard. I think there needs to be a, one of the questions that came up was how far back this is, claim for cows and plows go back. How far back can you claim? Somebody told us 15 years.
Maybe you want to do one question at a time.
Yeah,
Is that right? Okay. So under the specific claims policy, it says you can't go back from, you're limited 15 years from the current date. So this case, the claim goes from 1871 till 15 years from today. So go back, that'd be 2009.
somewhere there.
Yeah. So, not saying that that's the end of the story. I mean, this is dealing with the historical loss, not dealing with the current loss or the future loss. Okay? It's only dealing with historical losses. And that's the only thing that the specific claims policy will do is look at historical loss.
Okay, all right, thank you. The other things that, one of the elders that, we work with, he mentioned at one time they gave out, rations, they called them rations back then. And, when welfare came along, they cut those portions off out of the claims for our treaty. Basically ending that portion of the treaty which we don't agree with. So that should be put into the claim, like for flour, bacon, there was other things. We need to put those things back in there. I guess the Indian agent came here and said, well, we're cutting that off because you guys are getting welfare now, which is BS. Everybody in Canada gets welfare that are, eligible for that kind of thing. So if we could find a way to put that back in there. Also, the Holmes and Associates did a report. We'd like to get a copy of that. And does also the report needs to contain the treaty benefits for the value of them now, like up to now. Do they get like the loss of use of that part of it? We need to have a claim for loss of use. And the other point that we want to make is, we put it on record today. We talked about the Indian Act. Okay. The Indian Act did not exist at the time of treaty. Okay. Which no, when our clan chiefs talked about treaty with the government, there was no Indian Act used there. So why are we allowing Canada to apply that to us today? In other words, we're basically saying we don't agree or give consent for the government to apply the Indian Act to this claim. We never consented. Where does the money come from? From like they talk about a capital where the money is supposed to go, the interest. Like, where does that money come from? Who is being charged that money? for, where, when it goes into, what we heard of is, it's called, some call it Indian monies. So where does that come from? Is it from the natural resources? And what about the farmers today that, use our land? There's one farmer, you were talking about 160 acres for a family of 5. One farmer, we met, a few up here, wanted to talk to us. So we met with him, and the guy told us, you know, you guys get 160 acres for a family of 5. When they made, when we got land, it was 160 acres per man. He never said family, it was per man. So there was a double standard in the way they applied the land being, given out. Try to keep in mind on some of these questions I'm asking. You have it on record anyway. Also, who gave them the authority? Superintendent General Indian Affairs and the Governor Council. Like, these guys claimed the authority over us, and we never agreed or gave consent for them to do that. You won't find that in the treaty. The treaty was between 2 nations. So, those are the kind of things you have to remember when we're talking about treaty. This is a very sensitive issue. It's serious. We're talking about this generation, but also the future generations, our kids, our grandchildren, and their kids. We gotta talk about those. We can't just think about today. So, and why is the government setting the time limit on when we can get it says 3 years before they decide anything about this claim. Who the hell gave them that authority to do that? We never gave them that. Like, if there's evidence that shows that we gave the consent and agreed to that, then show us. Otherwise, you shouldn't be agreeing to that. Who gave, and what are the, you mentioned something about minimum standards in your presentation. What are those exactly? Maybe you can explain that to the tribal members, because you say a lot of things in there, but it's not, you don't say more than minimum standards. Well, what the hell is that? What about the persons who passed away? We don't agree or give consent to exclude those people from any treaty benefits they might have had. Either their families today could be benefiting from that treaty. There's a lot of us that lost family, and they want to discount those people. I don't think so. We got to keep those people in mind. Why are we using somebody asked, why are we using a domestic lawyer? And we should be relying on an international lawyer, somebody that knows something about nationhood. I think that's what basically they were saying. Can we get reports of the interviews conducted on the elders? I don't know, I guess there were some interviews done, and we'd like to see those, a copy of those interviews. Right now, we're putting information together on what do they call that again, Liddy? Know that tells all the information what the reserve. But anyway, it's got all that information, and we'd like to incorporate that into the information. That information there, so that future generations can see how things were being done today. So anyway, they also want to know which elders were interviewed. If you can provide that. So those are some of the questions. There's some other pretty hard questions, more comments that we have, but it's could be offensive to people. So anyway, we never had a chance to talk to the council, talk to them face to face about some of the things that we have an understanding on today. Too bad that we have to do that here today. I wish we could have time to do that ourselves. So, but anyway, those are some of the things that we put together. Thank you for your time.
Maybe you want to leave that, 'cause I'm not sure. I can't remember everything you went through. And then I'll give it back after.
It'll be, I'll invoice you after.
Okay. Rations. No, good point. Good point. Maybe that's just another claim. If that was a treaty benefit and it was supposed to be a treaty benefit, then there's nothing saying you can't put a claim forward for that. I mean, yeah. The Joan Holmes and Associates reports, I know they have them here, and we can provide anybody a copy of any of this, okay? I know, I believe Rachel said that Joan Holmes and Associates report on the agricultural treaty benefits is online right now. Not that one, but she's gonna put it on, so you can get copies of it. And the other ones, as we're done, they can definitely get copies of it. Definitely when we're talking about compensation, loss of use is always addressed. Okay? I mean, it's a good point. When we did the 1907 surrender claim, loss of use was part of that. Okay, or sorry, 1903. Thanks, sorry. We talked about loss of use, and loss of use was included in there, but anything we talk about, loss of use is addressed. You're wrong, Elder, about the Indian Act. There in fact was an Indian Act in place prior to Treaty 1 being negotiated. It was in place in 1867, the first Indian Act. Yeah, I'm definitely, they were using it without your knowledge. That is, you are totally right about that. Yeah. No, and I understand your point, and I agree with it totally. I'm just the point that there was an Indian Act. Yeah. No, you're right. It wasn't. It was totally done by the chiefs and whatever system you guys had in place to approve it at that time. No.
Canada is presenting to us. There's supposed to be two nations that signed the treaty. Two nations signed the treaty. Only two nations.
We need to hear you, Peter. No.
And there's only one nation that's telling us what they're going to do for us. That's it. I knew from a lot of talking about this, that there's two nations. Our side hasn't been discussed here at all. Our side hasn't been discussed here at all. Nothing. I disagree with everything you said here. And I'm okay with you being a lawyer for them, but for me, you're not my lawyer. So yeah, shake your shoulders, yeah, because you're not. You and Jones and Associates. Well, why aren't they here?
They were.
But there's a lot of our people have to get together and really sit down and find out exactly what it is that we're doing here. We're going along with a policy kind of thing, and it's crazy. It's not right that we were told what's gonna happen. And what's gonna happen will happen in 2 or 3 years. How many of us are gonna be around in 2 or 3 years? How long is this gonna take? You know, so I don't know. I just don't like the idea at all of what you presented in that. Okay.
Okay. Well, I'll respect that. I'm not here to convince you that this is the way or that's the way. I'm telling you what is there for us to work with. Don't want to work with it? Don't work with it. You want to work with it? Then we'll work with it. That's up to you to decide. I'm going to go through I'll get to your question, but I'm going to go through Ed's questions and then we'll come up. So he said, where does the money come from that goes into the capital and revenue or interest account? Well, it's really your money. It was your money. It's from leasing your farmland. It's from timber that may have been sold off the reserve. It's from land, the 1903 land that was surrendered. That's the money that went in. That's the kind of money that went into the capital and revenue account. It was your money, but under the terms of the Indian Act, and I understand we didn't consent to the Indian Act. Nonetheless, under the terms of the Indian Act, that when you leased farmland, the money went into your revenue account. Now, you may today be keeping that money in the First Nation through Buckshee leases. I don't know how you operate, but if you're doing it under permits, under the Indian Act, through ISK or Indian Affairs, I still call them Indian Affairs, that money would be collected by the Canada and would go into your revenue account. So that's where the money comes from that goes into those two accounts. And who gave them the authority? Superintendent General of Indian Affairs, the Government Council, or Band Council. Again, that's purely the Indian Act. Nothing that you guys agreed to. It's just was part of the Indian Act. So that's what it said. Again, the time period, why is going to take 3 years for approval. You can look to the AFN for that. This process, the specific claims process, was changed in 2008. And it was a joint discussions between the Government of Canada and the AFN. And they agreed on this process. Now, you wouldn't have been directly involved in that. The chief and the council may have been at meetings at the AFN where it was discussed, but you had input. As Indians, the Indians had input into what the policy was. Minimum standards. The minimum standards, this is purely a creation of Canada. The minimum standards say you have to have certain things in a claim submission in order for it to be accepted by Canada. One, you have to have a research report. Number two, you have to have all the historical documents that support that historical research, or if there was, in your case, elder interviews, then you have to have transcripts of those elder interviews. You have to have all of those historical documents have to be readable, which means the ones that are not written very clearly have to be transcribed. You have to have a list of the records that were researched, and you have to have a list of all the historical documents, and then you have to have a proper legal claim submission. That's what the minimum standards talk about. What about persons who pass away? Why doesn't it apply to them or their families? And it will. For example, the treaty annuity payments. We're going right back to the very beginning. We're not excluding anybody. Everybody that should have received that $5 and or that increase in $5 over the years, going right back to 1871, will be included. Everybody, whether they're alive or not, they will be counted. I can't comment on the domestic lawyer. You don't want to use me, then go find somebody else to use. That's your right. I'm not telling you you got to use Stephen Pilipo and Adam Tway to be your lawyers. That's for you to decide. The report on the interviews, yes, you will get the report. I know in that one report that we just received, the elder interviews are starting to show up in the research reports. There will be a transcript of all of the elders' interviews. You'll know exactly who was interviewed, and you'll know exactly what questions were asked, and you'll know exactly what answers were given, because it'll be put on paper. Okay. I think address the questions that Ed. So I got to give this back to Ed, or else he's going to charge me. There was a question, sorry, over here. Yes. Really? No.
That's what you want.
You did answer part of the question on the minimum standards. Who's at the table when they decide what those standards are? Or
Whether they met.
who determine and who set out the rules for the minimum standards? Who's at the table?
That was Canada. There was nobody at. To determine whether you met the minimum standards, they do it. Yeah. Just know what needs to be done, so I make sure we meet them. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's fine. I don't agree with everything Canada does too.
So when we talk about people that have passed away, right? Like I'm the executive minister of 3 estates. And when this $5 does increase, and actually it's my nephew that's working on that, Zongade Nelson. And when am I gonna see the results of that? Like how long is this gonna drag on? Like 10, 20 years before I see an increase in these $5? Because I just got a $50 check from from my daughter. And that's the first thing that came into my mind. And then I think of my Uncle Steve Seamy, his land that the government gave him after he fought for World War II. Now it's a graveyard. Because like wow. Can you answer that for me? How long it's gonna take?
No, I can't answer how long it's going to take, because I don't know, and I'm not involved in that Zongade law class action suit. I'm not the lawyer running it. I don't know where it's at. I don't know what the discussions have been on. I don't know. Okay, that's out of my knowledge. I am going to communicate with the lawyers once we get this final report on the annuities, and I'm going to feed it to them so that they have it. And, I can ask them some background, but yeah, I can't. Don't expect it to be in the next 6 months. That's for sure. It's going to take some time. Yeah.
Jackie Quinn, because mine can I guess mine's more of a comment. And first of all, you were talking about the monies, where the monies is coming from. And then there's We understand, some of us understand that there's an Indian trust, that some of us still have the understanding of sovereignty. Some of us are not commodities under the Indian Act. Some of us are removed under international law. We're not considered prisoners of war status any longer. So we understand that treaties that were made, these 1 to 11, were based on murder, theft of a people. So to me, it's kind of a joke to the people to claim back money that's already theirs. It's already their money. But I understand, I understand under international law, the treaties that we're under, we have 3 treaties of this continent that we're under. We're not under these stipulated treaties 1 to 11. We understand the sovereignty, and that these sovereignties that were made between so-called the Crown and Canada has no sovereignty. Canada is nothing but a corporation for the Crown. That's all it is. It's a business. So because they're using the slavery of INAC, we're the so-called indigenous now. There's still Indians here. We're still here, but there's these indigenous now that are still captured under that prisoner of war status. So I find it like a lot of these claims that they're claiming this land is already our land. This is our homeland. We're the original people of this land. And when people come in with their lies and treasonous acts towards the sovereigns, I find that they come in with their basing it all on poverty, using our poverty of our people. And then you guys get richer and richer, and our people get poorer and poorer and smaller land base. Yet this is all our home territories. There's many tribes across the land that have territories that are mass. Anishinaabe tribe is huge. We're not just little reserves. So when these claims come in like that, to me, that's selling out to these corporations of Canada. That's a sellout. And I don't see it beneficial to our people, because you look at the 1903, okay, they live off the interest, but they don't even see the 80 million. It's just interest that our people will never be able to touch that money. And this new claim, what is it? You said, I'm not sure what is the claim amount for the determines. That's nothing today. That's nothing today. And is that just a one-time payment? What about those little ones that are yet to come? What about them? Right now, they're thriving off the poverty of us. And that's the scary part. And then our people will sign in because some of us don't have means. So that's when they come in and do these things, trick our people. But I'm not tricked by it. I'll always speak against these systems that are doing that to our people. And I'm not personally attacking you, and you already know that. You're a lawyer. So for me, I'm not for this. I'm not for any kind of land claims. Because to me, it's selling us out, selling our future out. And I love my grandchildren that are yet to come. So for me, this is a no. And I'm disgusted at the little petty change, because we have an Indian trust. And once we remove ourselves from the Corporation of Canada, then we'll have access to all that Indian trust. We don't need them to come in between us. Which, it's yours or mine? Yours. Okay.
Any questions? Any other questions? Yeah.
1871, August the 3rd. And he was a legend, on you thinking I'm a old man. He had this, and he could run on in Jimmy and them. He didn't. But after the money, where, I should have married in minimum. He only town and he just similarly, team, he win, so they can all be really one territory. That's our territory. And if you look at the little map, it's acknowledgement by them putting the Canadian flag on there, so-called Canadian flag. It's still our territory. He could do up there, on top of the yard. I said, can I want the same in that treaty? I got NG could go there. They knew all the resources in that territory supposed to come here. What's happening now? Things are being stolen. Land is being stolen. Resource money is being stolen. So even when they say the sun, they meant the universe, the air. You know, look how many planes go by here. How much do we get out of there? How much resources have we lost? I just can I want the same good to do Anishinabe. I'm going to stay on the kid. Design was only at the video, Shama. A man of them, you're in the book. But I just don't know immigrant, I didn't, you're in the book. We chose to know you, and the guy didn't cut them out. And on the road, down the Zima, they win. He went in, he thought in me. We got honesty, we got the 7 teachings. Yet we also have that one pump bill to coexist with them. But what did they do? They take everything away from us. Anishinabe, a way of life, not when they and they don't respect those. We've been fighting the Election Act, Union Act. Yes, it might have been here in 1867, but beyond that, was it here? No, we were. Our ancestry, Nongum, and generations. Min gelsi jimin min doy. Kaya hog. And ito ang mismo gasan. Ikinakons. Igmazyod. Anishinabe. You cannot, and you shouldn't, be a sellout. I'm not criticizing anybody if they want their money. But land will never go away. The sun will never go away. The grass will grow. The water will flow. And it might be similar we swap young. Yeah, P. In the Ewogan Dama, it's doing. I didn't shut it to see it. If you may call me in the minute, I'm just reminding you guys again. I used to always come to these meetings just to remind people it's not to hurt anybody. I just want you to stand strong and be who you are. You are Anishinaabe people. We were known as strong nation, but we went through the feminine band. In Anishinaabe, lunch come on here. When, you know, you know,
Kaya ang gawin niya, kaya makakalap. Ito din. Ito all day baby. No me. So it's coming in, because we just share, no they no one did. Okay. This morning, Benjamin Lamuk, there's a United Nations Criminal Court. The ship will take it, a nation, each in the whatever, so man, no one needs you. So-called Canada, immigrant people, and us. In between, justice is caught. He's got to know the difference between those two nations. But he's got to know the laws of the Anishinabe people. He's got to know Canada laws, but the justice system. Because that no, that applies for courts, for police, you name it. In that system, to go into one side, like right now, it seems like the justice system is all applying to favoring so-called Canada. Always. Yeah, not a magazine, the lawyer. YER, you put law in the front. What side does that law apply to? Either side, gotta help both sides. You gotta understand both sides. You cannot steal, dishonor yourself. You made an oath for yourself, maybe the so-called Canada. Well, that's still wrong. And you're going to have to carry that thing for the rest of your life. What did you favor most? Just for that dollar again? How long does money last? Ask me. Something you can get $30,000 1 week, maybe. With your children's money, another 3 weeks. But how long have we been living here? For a while, a lifetime. But Creator put it there. He gave us everything. But greed came across the ocean. Immigrants. Morning, I went to Altona. What I've seen, there's immigrant services. Do they have that Agamaki overseas? Do they have any immigrant services out there? If we went out there, would we get what the immigrants are getting today? Housing and all that money? No. Would be taken out as like the way Trump is doing to his immigrants. So some are wishing some of those people that are just trusting to get back on the boat and go back. It's honest. I'm not kidding. You guys start thinking seriously how you feel. Me, I got that our traditional flag in my room. Every morning I see it. Every night before I go to sleep, I see it. It keeps reminding me of who I am. And that's my purpose here, just to come here and remind you people. It's not to hurt anybody. Just be strong. Those lies
might make us walk the road. My grandmother, Opo Ensign, Manan, on one city, he didn't Chiggy, Marga of no Jacob Muslim Kanan. Be very careful. Maybe some of your parents told you that. But that's what I remember. One thing he told me, on one city, always be cautious. Those words, they could be interpreted any way for them, for benefit. But for us, our word comes from the heart, spirit, our being. That's why I remind you of the 7 teachings. That 30,000 they promised, it's only going to last 2-3 days. And you can buy a second-hand car with that, and you have to tax you again. All those taxes and everything, windmills, you name it, hydro poles, have they paid for it? No. That's our resources. And there's conditional access to land, 6 inches. In treaty 3, it uses the tip of an axe. So, and if you look at Manitoba, there isn't any, it's all treaty territory. You just check it out, it's all treaty territory. Yes, we gotta pay taxes. Even a donation to the NCC, pay taxes again. And those are donations. $25 cents, I had to pay taxes on it. You can't even send me $1.50 to buy a decent one. Thank you.
No.
Anybody have any more questions? Shy guys, your voice counts. Here comes Edward Hayden. Everybody stare at him.
Don't worry, we're not mad at you, okay? No, I just want to make a comment, our intentions are to move things along, but we're not trying to kill anything either. We're trying to be helpful to make sure that we consider everything. Because this is a very serious thing that we're working on. We can't take it lightly. So let's, I hope we could have another meeting about this and clear up some things with the tribal members. But the other thing I'd like to encourage the chief and council is please invite the staff, the tribal staff that should be in here too. Listening, because it affects them and their children. So that's all I ask. You got you.
Well, Jimmy West, Edward. Just want to say that I really appreciate the participation and the remarks that have been made here by the tribal membership today. That's the purpose of these informational sessions, or whatever you want to call it. Give the tribal membership opportunity to ask the questions, try to get answers. We may not always have the answer that you may want to hear, but we're trying to provide the answers to the tribal membership. It's very clear to me that the elders advisory have done their homework based on the meetings that have occurred here in the past. That's what that tells me when I hear them. When I hear the spokesperson from the elders advisory speak. So I really appreciate those statements and remarks that were made by Jimmy Wedge Elders Advisory. So that's a good sign that people are people are really looking at the issues. You know, in particular, we're talking about the agricultural claim here, and the other claims, of course, but it's specifically to the agricultural claim they call the cows and plows, you know. Just want to say that, you know, this administration, you know, we're elected by the people, you know, they expect us to do things, get things done, but they keep hammering at us. Get things done. And as a leadership, we hear you. You know? In respect to that, here's what we're working on. You know, as you all know, I mean, there's other things that we're working on also to try and bring in extra additional revenue to the nation here. But this is one process, one of many processes. And so we hear you loud and clear. You're telling us do something. So that's what we're doing. Pursuing these claims. It may not suit everybody. We hear the majority of the people. You know? So still look, we're like, when we come to these meetings, we still want to hear. We expect everybody to voice their concerns. That's what we want, because that's important. We need that interaction, so we can try to make good informed decisions going forward. So appreciate that from the membership. I wish there was more here today. You know, I'd like to see a full house. It is what it is. You can't wait and you can't sit around and wait. You know, you gotta move forward. You're sitting here years from now and still talking about the same things. We hear you loud and clear from the membership. Do something. So here's a step towards that. Direction. Who's the next speaker here? Anybody has some closing comments? Even the membership here, I mean, invite you to come forward and you want to say something? Yeah. Oh no, I thought you raised your hand. No, that's okay. That's fine.
So again, you can come anytime to the government office. We'll have all these information printed out for you to take home and read. Really read everything that you get. And if you don't understand, you know, just keep, you know, ask. That's why we have Stephen Pilipow here to answer any questions that you may have. You can also call Stephen, and you can also email him anytime. Not 3 a.m. though, right, Stephen? Stephen, sorry. So also we're having our information session tomorrow in Winnipeg for the Winnipeg members. So you can come to the Wyndham Hotel in Winnipeg, 460 Madison Street, and it starts at 11:30 a.m. till 1 o'clock. So all are welcome to come and watch online as well. Here's Terry Nelson.
I guess one of the things I wanted to make sure of is that when Stephen Pilipow comes here, Stephen is asked to go all over the place. Like I told you before, he settled 40 claims. And he talked a little bit about, although he wasn't a lawyer on that one, the Laurent claim, 600 million. And this doesn't happen unless the First Nations pushes it through. And yeah, I don't like the system either. I don't like the Canada Indian Act system or the system that they have. The reality is that Canada is going to move forward with the First Nations that are willing to sit and go through the process. Pilipow does lots of work. He doesn't have to be in the Roseau River. There's so many First Nations that want him to do some work. add them to it too. But Canada's going to move with the First Nations that are willing to sit down and go through the process. I don't, like I said, I don't like the process, but what the chief has said, if you want us to do something, well, we're going to do something. We're going to do whatever we can. And not everybody's going to agree with it, but at the end of the day, like we said, on the 1903 surrender, we went forward, we got it done. At the end of the day, not the chief and council that accept that. It has to come to the people for a referendum. So anything that we move forward and we try and get a settlement on, it'll come back to the people, and you can vote on it, yes or no. But anyway, thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for the online people. Like Rachel said, we're going to be in Winnipeg tomorrow, and we're going to continue to work as much as we can. Either that, we're what we've said before is that we can just sit in the office and do nothing. But I don't think we want to do that. We want to bring something to our people. Thank you.
We done? You're finished with this? There.
So Edward Hayden, can you close the prayer? Oh, here's, Ed wanted to give you something from Stephen.
Invoice.
Here's invoice. So Ed's gonna, say a closing prayer.
Oh. Mi wa chwe ni mana na che ma ne do. No go ma e ga skit twen gi tuma mo bing. We ge go we de ge go ge ne na ge je de wo ji we de me ke da ge ma jo mi ya ni she ge ji ken na mo ge no ani ne da me. Me de she mi wa chwe ni ma je ma ne do. Yeah. We ge ni finish kind of where one is called the sea. When I got much a unknown demon. Medicine, me watch when I'm gay. Miss Na, me watch when I'm dark in I'm my jar up my moving me arm. On in me was kicking on up out. You know very much Tibet is in the morning, my jar to get what I go with you. Mi watch Germany do she's waging in. Ask me women. Mi women, Nick. Mi watch.
We're there, we're going there now.
Okay. No, we got tomorrow. Tomorrow work, eh? Tomorrow. I'm flying back tomorrow.
All right, and that's going to conclude the coverage for today here from Roseau River, Anishinabe First Nation. If anybody is looking for services, streaming services, broadcasting services, any kind of event you can think of, you can contact me, Rod Arriagada. It's pronounced like Arriagada. You can contact me via email at rod_Arriagada_204 at yahoo.com. All right, and that's going to be it for now. So we're going to come back again tomorrow. There'll be coverage coming in from Winnipeg out on Polo Park, Canada Inns. And we'll be there tomorrow starting 11 o'clock, I believe, till 1:30 or something like that. But that'll be the coverage for tomorrow. So those of you that are in the city, if you want to come out and if you have comments or if you have any questions, you can come out tomorrow and be part of the community meeting. All right, thank you. And that's going to be it for tonight. So we're going to go out the way that I came in. It is Tuesday, November 12th, 2024, and we are now concluded with one of two community meeting sessions regarding the Cows and Ploughs claims update. We will see you guys tomorrow It starts at 11?
11, well, just say 11 because it's Indian time.
Yeah. So we start at 11 o'clock. I'll see you guys there tomorrow morning. 460 Madison,
Garden Hotel.
Wyndham Garden Hotel. All right. Until then, have a good night, everyone. Cheers.